Right now on Close Up with the Hollywood Reporter, we'll hear from comedy's funniest ladies on television.
I was wondering how many questions we were going to wait until you were going to bring this up.
What is it? What's the deal?
Asking for the same amount of money that a man makes on a show.
For God's sakes, yes.
There was certainly a best friend chapter of my life. I was the constant quirky best friend to like blonde stars.
I can't wait to finally like tell the stories that represent me. That no one else is telling me.
Yeah.
When I was 15, I had never kissed a boy. And the director comes over to me and he said to me, an apple is an apple, a plum is a plum, a kiss isn't a kiss without the tongue.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Issa Rae, Insecure. Minnie Driver, Speechless. America Ferrera, Superstore. Kathryn Hahn, I Love Dick. Emmy Rossum, Shameless. Pamela Adlon, Better Things. Hi, and welcome to Close Up with the Hollywood Reporter. I'm Lacey Rose. Let's get started. So, Minnie, I know you've said with your role on Speechless that this was a role that a lot of other women didn't want to take because of how sort of unlikable the character was, and yet that was a piece of what appealed to you on some level, the challenge of that.
Well, it's one of my strong points, you know.
Yeah?
Being awful, but relatable.
But what is the appeal of playing someone who isn't sort of on the face of it likable?
I actually have a real problem with women being called unlikable because you never hear that about a man. You never hear it about such an unlikable bloke. You have, they're funny, they're called anti-heroes, and they're funny and they're strong and diverse and interesting. She has a very heightened set of circumstances. You're handed a baby who a doctor tells you is never going to lead a typical life. They probably won't walk, they probably won't talk. You face down this horror, and you're then in the roses. Everything after that, the baby lives, you love, your family comes back together. The small stuff doesn't really apply. You don't get worried about it, you say whatever you think. I feel like she has a different set of tenets by which she lives, and some of them are really not likable, but she's human in that way. I don't mean for her to be liked, but I think a lot of actresses were worried that that would somehow tarnish them.
Yeah.
JJ is so excited. He's never had an aide speak for him before, just Mum. I suppose he is 16 now. It's time his voice changed. Oh, yeah, no, that means he's laughing.
If it's something that you celebrate, someone's diverse emotion, then that's interesting as an actor. I like it.
Sure.
I like that. That's got likability written all over it.
And there's liberation in it, too. I mean, I think my character on Superstore is so different from when I played for 4 years. Betty was like, you could throw anything at her and you could her and she would just smile and keep going. And that was easy for me to play, especially as a 20-something-year-old who knew that my role as a woman was to like make people like me. And Amy on Superstore is so different. She's coming from such a different place. She has a job that is just a job, and she doesn't seek her validation in it, and she doesn't need people to like her.
Adam's sleeping in the basement. Yeah. I told him I wasn't happy. I don't know what I expected him to say, but he said, I'm not happy either, which is definitely not what I expected him to say. And so we talked about it, and then we yelled about it, and then we just stopped talking. And now it's all weird and tense, and Emma's all upset, and it's miserable.
Amy, I am so sorry. You want a balloon animal?
Thank you.
Playing that role as I am growing up as a woman, there's liberation in feeling like I don't have to make everyone like me, and it's okay if people don't like me. Like, I can just be a person in the world, and it's not the end of the world if somebody doesn't approve.
With my character on Shameless, it's been so many seasons now. It feels like she's gone through so much. I mean, I went to jail for cocaine and overdosed a toddler, and still somehow found the humanity in that, and redemption afterwards, and the dark up comedy in that. And you know, I guess there was a moment where I thought, like, oh God, is everyone gonna hate me? And then I thought, like, who cares?
Okay, Connie, no bull. What's the cheapest way I can get this woman into the ground?
No embalming. We keep her in the fridge until we can cremate her and give you back the ashes in what is essentially an old coffee can. 750.
It's like you can never play for a joke. You have to play the reality of the situation and play the humanity of the situation, and whatever anybody else takes away from it is a reflection on them.
It's so true. Television shows these days are more like publicly social in terms of the conversation, and people tend to be quicker to take sides, but I think that's the most compelling element, that people are drawn to a specific trait in female characters specifically. I think for me, in watching television, I'm always like, what can I talk about? What's the piece of a performance or a choice that I can most relate to, that I can put myself in those shoes and be like, would I do the same thing?
I made a mistake, but at least I can see that I do wrong.
Well, what do I do wrong, Issa?
Do you really want to know?
Please tell me.
Okay, have you noticed, Molly, the common denominator in all your can't find a man bull you? Yeah, let's do the rundown, Molly. 1 minute, he's too thirsty. The next minute, he's too distant. The next, he's too gay. And then when you do find someone that you actually like, you ruin it by doing too much. You act like finding someone is supposed to be some sort of fairy tale, but it's not.
The character in my show is named after me, and that was purely by accident. It was an untitled show, and I was just like, I'll just call the character Issa for now. And then it just aired that way.
I want you to imagine walking into a room, control room with a bunch of people, 100 people hunched over at desks with little dials, and that control room will shape the thoughts and feelings of 1 billion people. This might sound like science fiction, but this actually exists right now, today. I know because I used to be in one of those control rooms. I was a design ethicist at Google, where I studied how do you ethically steer people's thoughts. Because what we don't talk about is a handful of people working at a handful of technology companies, through their choices, will steer what 1 billion people are thinking today. Because when you pull out your phone and they design how this works or what's on the feed, it's scheduling little blocks of time in our minds. If you see a notification, it schedules you to have thoughts that maybe you didn't intend to have. If you swipe over that notification, it schedules you into spending a little bit of time getting sucked into something that maybe you didn't intend to get sucked into. When we talk about technology, we tend to talk about it as this blue sky opportunity. It could go any direction. And I want to get serious for a moment and tell you why it's going in a very specific direction. Because it's not evolving randomly. There's a hidden goal driving the direction of all of the technology we make. And that goal is the race for our attention. Because every news site, TED, elections, politicians, games, even meditation apps have to compete for one thing, which is our attention. And there's only so much of it. And the best way to get people's attention is to know how someone's mind works. And there's a whole bunch of persuasive techniques that I learned in college at a lab called the Persuasive Technology Lab to get people's attention. A simple example is YouTube. YouTube wants to maximize how much time you spend. And so what do? They autoplay the next video. And let's say that works really well. They're getting a little bit more of people's time. Well, if you're Netflix, you look at that and say, well, that's shrinking my market share, so I'm going to autoplay the next episode. But then if you're Facebook, you say, well, no, that's shrinking all of my market share, so now I have to autoplay all the videos in the news.